Hello, hello. I wondered if perhaps reading aloud this reading would be helpful for you all. So I'm going to read it aloud. You're welcome to listen. If you don't prefer to hear it, that's fine too. Don't have to watch this video. So, what climate change means for North Carolina. North Carolina's climate is changing. Most of the state has warmed 1/2 to 1 degree Fahrenheit in the last century, and the sea level is rising about 1 inch every decade. Higher water levels are eroding beaches, submerging lowlands, exacerbating coastal flooding, and increasing the salinity of estuaries and aquifers. The southeastern United States has warmed less than most of the nation, but in the coming decades, the region's changing climate is likely to reduce crop yields, harm livestock, increase the number of unpleasantly hot days, and increase the risk of heat stroke and other heat-related illnesses. Our climate is changing because the Earth is warming. People have increased the amount of carbon dioxide in the air by 40% since the late 1700s. Other heat-trapping greenhouse gases are also increasing. These gases have warmed the surface and lower atmosphere of our planet about 1 degree during the last 50 years. Evaporation increases as the atmosphere warms, which increases humidity, average rainfall, and the frequency of heavy rainstorms in many places, but contributes to drought in others. Greenhouse gases are also changing the world's ocean and ice cover. Carbon dioxide reacts with water to form carbonic acid, so the oceans are becoming more acidic. The surface of the ocean has warmed about 1 degree during the last 80 years. Warming is causing snow to melt earlier in spring, and mountain glaciers are retreating. Even the great ice sheets of Greenland and Antarctica are shrinking. Thus, the sea level is rising at an increased rate. We've got a map right here of the United States showing rising temperatures in the last century. North Carolina has warmed less than most of the United States. Source is the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency Climate Change Indicators in the United States. So we've got North Carolina right here. We can see it's like a pinky color, which means that it has changed in about 0.5 degrees Fahrenheit to 1 degree Fahrenheit. We're seeing the most drastic effects in areas like Maine, Michigan, Wisconsin, North and South Dakota, and over here in like California and Colorado regions. Rising seas and retreating shores. As the ocean warms, seawater expands and raises sea level. Melting ice adds more water to the ocean, further raising sea level. Along much of the Atlantic coast, including parts of North Carolina, the land surface is shrinking, so the observed rate of sea level rise relative to the land is greater than the global average rise. Sea level is likely to rise 1 to 4 feet in the next century along the coast of North Carolina. As sea level rises, the lowest drylands are submerged and become either tidal wetlands or open water. Most existing wetlands can create their own land and keep pace with the slowly rising sea. But if the sea level rises 3 feet in the next century, most of the wetlands on the Albemarle Palmetto Peninsula are likely to be submerged by the higher water level. Beaches also erode as sea levels rise. A higher water level makes it more likely that the storm waters will wash over the barrier islands or open new inlets. The United States Geological Survey estimates that the lightly developed Outer Banks between Nags Head and Ocracoke could be broken up into new inlets or lost to erosion if sea levels rise 2 feet by the year 21,000 or 2100. Eroding shores will threaten most coastal towns unless people take measures to halt the erosion. Beach houses in Nags Head are vulnerable to severe storms, flooding, and erosion. Coastal ecosystems. As sea level rises, salt water can mix farther upstream and further inland in aquifers and wetlands. Increasing salinity can kill some types of trees and swamps. Salt water also reacts with some wetland soils, causing the surface of the wetland to sink below the water, adding to the loss of wetland. Trees killed by increased salinity near Camden Point. Many species of birds and fish in North Carolina depend upon the coastal wetlands threatened by sea level rising. Blue crab, shrimp, and southern flounder use marshes for both breeding and evading larger predators. Larger fish such as sea trout and red drums also feed in these marshes. Many types of bird feed on the fish in the marsh, including egrets and herons. Wetlands along the Alligator River are the principal habitat in the wild for the endangered red wolf. The Pausican swamps provide refuge for black bears, bobcats, and they help to maintain water quality in the nearby sound. All right, we're right here. So storms, homes, and infrastructure. Tropical storms and hurricanes have become more intense during the past 20 years. Although warming oceans provides these storms with more potential energy, scientists are not sure whether the recent intensification reflects a long-term trend. Nevertheless, hurricane wind speeds and rainfall rates are likely to increase as the climate continues to warm. Got a picture of a water covering the front yards near Swan Quarter. Whether or not storms become more intense, coastal homes and infrastructure will flood more often as sea levels rise, because storm surges will become higher as well. Rising sea level is likely to increase flood insurance rates, while more frequent storms could increase the deductible for wind damage in homeowner insurance policies. Many cities, roads, railways, ports, airports, oil and gas facilities, water supplies in the southeast are vulnerable to the impacts of storm and sea level rise. People may move from vulnerable coastal communities and stress the infrastructure of communities that receive them. Increased rainfall may further exacerbate, it's always a hard word, flooding in some coastal areas. Exacerbate means get worse. Since 1958, the amount of precipitation during heavy rainstorms has increased by 27% in the southeast, and the trend towards increasing heavy rainstorm is likely to continue. In agriculture, changing the climate will have both harmful and beneficial effects on farming. During the next few decades, hotter summers are likely to reduce yields of corn, but higher concentrations of atmospheric carbon dioxide increase crop yields, and that fertilizing effect is likely to offset the harmful effects of heat on cotton, soybean, wheat, and peanuts if enough water is available. More severe droughts, however, could cause crop failure. Higher temperatures are likely to reduce livestock productivity because heat stress disrupts the animal's metabolism. Climate change and energy. 70 years from now, temperatures will likely rise above 95 degrees Fahrenheit approximately 20 to 40 days per year in most of the state, compared with the 10 days per year today. Greater use of air conditioning will increase electricity consumption. Climate change and human health. Hot days can be unhealthy, even dangerous. Certain people are especially vulnerable, including children, the elderly, the sick, and the poor. High air temperatures can cause heat stroke and dehydration and affect people's cardiovascular and nervous systems. Warmer air can also increase the formation of ground-level ozone, remember smog, a key component of smog. Ozone has a variety of health effects, aggravates lung diseases such as asthma, and increases the risk of premature death from the heat or lung disease. So EPA and the North Carolina Division of Air Quality have been working to reduce ozone concentration. As the climate changes, continued progress towards clean air will become more difficult. So those are just some of the effects of climate change that we might feel in North Carolina if the climate continues to change as it will. You're going to use this video reading to answer these questions. Good luck, guys. If you have any questions, email me or reach out.